we've heard from Bill Callahan, the Browns offensive line coach, a guy who has NFL head coaching experience and is and has been regarded as one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL for quite a few seasons now. Callahan, excited about what he sees with the Browns' number 1 pick in the draft, the 10th pick overall, Jedrick Wills. He feels they'll have no trouble making the move from right tackle to left tackle, protecting Baker Mayfield's blind side.
When you watch a player on film, I think you come away, your takeaways are, well, this guy's a good player, he's solid, he has athletic ability. But with Jedrick, it was a little bit different in that you could feel him on film. He came alive on tape, and you got excited about what he was doing throughout the course of the game. And then, a lot of times people talk about makeup and they talk about character and all these other things, which are great, in which he does have. But, he's got these intangibles that show up in tangible ways on film where, you watch him finish, you watch him detail a technique, you watch his consistent effort and his stamina throughout the course of the game from start to finish. And I think that's what was, the appeal for me. And I think our scouts did a great job. And organizationally, I think everybody contributed to his selection and really spoke highly of him, and all the background work that our scouts did prior to the draft and also at the combine just spoke volumes for the player. So when you put all those pieces together, it's not a hard decision to make. I remember, let's say we had Zach Martin, who we moved from a college left tackle to right guard. We did the same thing in Washington with Sheriff. He was a left tackle at Iowa, and he came over and played right guard for us when he was drafted. So, throughout my career, I've had a lot of guys that I've mixed and matched and moved around. And one of the other guys that comes to mind is Damian Woody, who was a center for New England and was drafted in the first round. And when he hit free agency, he ended up in Detroit and got hurt and was looking for another position to play. And when I was at the Jets, Mike Tannenbaum did a great job in signing him, and we made a right tackle out of him for years, and he did a great job there as well. So it's interesting, some guys can make the switches, and some guys can't, but it's always fun. If they want to do it, they'll make the switch.
With Jedrick Wills, is it sort of assumed at this point that you guys want him to be your week 1 starter at left tackle, or is it too early to say that?
No, I don't think so. I think whenever you draft a player as high as we've drafted Jedrick, I've always felt that you've got to plug him in and play him immediately. That's why you draft him. So, no, that doesn't concern me, scare me, bother me in any respect. So I'm quite confident that he's capable of being our left tackle.
That is the Browns offensive line coach, Bill Callahan. Now let's welcome in cleveland.com and Plain Dealer beat reporter for the Browns, one of them, Ellis Williams. Ellis, you heard Bill Callahan speak about Jedrick Wills, felt really good about the draft. After hearing a guy that's as well respected of an offensive line coach as Callahan, I feel even better. What about you? What did you think about what he had to say about Wills?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. In Bill Callahan, Browns fans should trust. This is going to be one of the sneaky, better hires of the offseason. Offensive line play is tricky at any level. At the NFL, it's, of course, the most tedious, depending on your scheme. And that's why it's exciting that the Browns landed one of the most respected and, quite frankly, probably one of the 4 or 5 guys in the league who truly know what they're doing at this position. He just spoke of pure wisdom, and you could tell throughout his experience that he's as comfortable as could be coming to Cleveland and inheriting a player like Jedrick Wills. It doesn't sound like he's that worried about a transition that we've all been talking about, and you heard it in that clip there. He's got a lot of experience in players changing all over the offensive line and succeeding, whether it was Zach Martin and Damian Woody, like you heard in the clip. You talked about Tyron Smith, and what I like about all his examples is they run the gamut or the spectrum of athleticism. Zach Martin and Tyron Smith are 2 guys that really stand out for different reasons. Damian Woody's a guy who sort of reinvented himself late and made it happen. What they all have in common, and one thing that I think is important to focus on, is just the willingness to switch. And Jedrick seems to check out in every asset you could imagine when it comes to his willingness to be great at this position. Now he's young, he obviously hasn't played an NFL snap yet, but when you have a coach as experienced as Bill Callahan raving about this young man's willingness and want to learn, I think he had a quote something about how he absorbs information and wants more. He's hungry for this offensive line knowledge. He's willing to embrace all these different techniques. Said a lot of the same stuff about Jack Conklin. There's just a lot to be excited about along that Browns offensive line. And considering what fans saw last year, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it feels like it's going to be night and day now with the additions they've made and now the person overseeing the entire unit as well.